when is that time you know that you need to get your hormones checked? What are those common symptoms?
If you don't have a good gut health, you cannot have hormonal balance. If you are deficient in vitamin D and B12, which are very common deficiencies, then you are more prone to hormonal imbalance. Vitamin D is the master hormone in our body, and it's a fat soluble vitamin. So
Why is it that hormones are like so all over the place during periods or during the PMS?
major fluctuations in estrogen lead to mood disorders, and lowering of progesterone closer to your period can give you that PMS related symptom. Also, focusing on good quality sleep. I think if you are not rested, then your hormones can play a havoc on your system.
Like talking about menopause, is it just a phase or there's more to the story? Hello and welcome to Health Bites presented by Red FM Podcast. In this episode, we're discussing something that's literally in the air you breathe, your hormones. Have you ever wondered why your mood's a roller coaster or you're having that chocolate craving at 3 a.m. in the night? It's not your brain, it's your hormones, ladies. But don't worry, in this episode, we're going to unpack these powerful little chemicals and see how they affect your health, your skin, your hair, your moods, honestly, your overall sanity. Tune in, it's about to get real. Hi Lovneet, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am great. तो पिछले एपिसोड में हमने काफ़ी fat loss और we discussed a lot of knowledge around it. I think I've had a better relationship with food now. But I think the one more thing that affects a lot of lives, especially women, is hormones. So when is that time you know that you need to get your hormones checked? What are those common symptoms?
Very common symptoms to know whether you need to get your hormones checked or not. It will reflect on your skin. Acne, breakouts, hair fall, or hair growth on face. It could also reflect on your mood. So having mood disorders, feeling anxious, depressed, or if your sleep is getting affected, no matter how much you try, you're not able to get good sleep, you're waking up again and again. These are the first signs that are a warning sign that you need to get your hormones checked.
And when somebody comes to you who you feel has hormone issues and you get their hormones checked and there's an imbalance there, what is your first plan of action?
See, hormones are messengers between our physical, emotional, and psychological health. So, whenever somebody comes to me for a hormonal balance plan, it has to be a holistic plan where we try to evaluate the current stress, the current emotional well-being, the current sleep hygiene, the quality of sleep, of course the dietary assessment. We try to analyze the current body composition because the amount of fat your body is carrying will determine the quality of hormones you have. Your gut health. If you don't have a good gut health, you cannot have hormonal balance. Then we also run some blood work to do the actual profiling for hormones, to understand micronutrient deficiencies, which are very common for anybody who struggles with hormonal imbalance. And then we create a plan of action.
So any nutrient deficiency or excess can, sort of mess up with the hormones?
Absolutely. If you are deficient in vitamin D and B12, which are very common deficiencies, then you are more prone to hormonal imbalance. In fact, vitamin D is the master hormone in our body. It's not just a vitamin. And it's a fat soluble vitamin. So if you have low fat intake, if you don't have enough of good fats in your body, if you don't have enough lean protein, if you don't have enough fiber, if you are constipated, all of these factors affect your hormonal health.
So can hormones cause anxiety, stress, or is it the other way around?
It's a cycle. Stress can make hormonal imbalance worse, and hormonal imbalance can make you anxious and depressed or give you different mood fluctuations. So say if you have high cortisol levels, then you are at risk of anxiety, depression. If you have dopamine imbalance, which is a hormone for pleasure and reward, But if there's an imbalance in dopamine, that could lead to mood fluctuations. It could lead to addictive behavior. If you have imbalance in estrogen and progesterone, then you will feel heightened PMS, mood fluctuations before your periods. So it's completely correlated, completely correlated.
So like you said about dopamine rush. So when that's something that I've personally experienced, when you're stressed or when I am anxious, my hand goes to that chocolate, to that something uh, that has a lot of cheese or maybe a lot of
Yes.
spice. I personally love spice. So I would go, like my comfort food is something spicy. So when people like me come to you who are like, maybe because of their hormones, they're so stressed. And when they're turning back to that junk food, what do you advise them?
So foods that we mostly rely on during stress are going to be foods that are that give you that instant pleasure, right? So that chocolate, chips, high salt food, fried food. But at that time, at that very moment, it might sound weird, but what helps a lot is deep breathing. To slow your system down a little bit, hydrate yourself. Before opting for that junk food, nourish yourself. So, say if it's late night, have soaked nuts, or if it's during the day, have a banana. It's a instant energizer. It has magnesium in it, it has tryptophan in it, the nutrients that you require to sort of settle down stress and get relaxed a little bit. Stress and anxiety are also a byproduct of overthinking, constantly thinking. So at that moment, slowing yourself down is important. And fast food does completely opposite for your system. So when you end up eating something junk, you actually increase your stress hormone, cortisol, which is inflammatory in nature. So you get caught up in that cycle and you lose control over your action, you lose control over that habit. And that could be, like we were talking about, addiction. So it could be smoking for some people, it could be alcohol, it could be sugar. These are all foods that people under stress go to when they are having fluctuations in their dopamine and other hormones that decide how well we feel in our emotions. Also at that time, there are certain hormones that help you feel happy, right? And there are ways that you can help your body release those hormones, such as endorphins, which is a good happy hormone. It's a natural painkiller, and exercise helps you release endorphin. So if you consider yourself someone who has a very hectic, stressful routine, exercise becomes a very important part of your day. And it doesn't need to be 1 hour. You don't have to feel obligated or stressed about taking that 1 hour out, but just take like 20 minutes out of your busy day. So it's important to look at activities that will help you increase your endorphins, increase your oxytocin levels. Oxytocin is the love hormone. So if you spend time with your loved ones, with your kids, with your partner, you help your body release more oxytocin. So I think when it comes to stress management, food, relying on just food is not the long-term solution. You have to sort of evaluate your overall well-being, and emotional health plays a very, very important role in giving you stable hormones.
So it's a lifestyle change basically.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle change. It goes beyond lifestyle because sometimes we are not so aware or in tune with our emotions, or many people are so busy that they don't want to reflect on their true feelings. And endocrine system, our hormones, are that link that sort of puts our mental, emotional and physical health together. And if you don't have stable emotional health, if you don't take care of that, then you cannot expect your body to have stable hormones, and vice versa.
So why is it that hormones are like so all over the place during periods or during the PMS?
So two hormones that define that, estrogen and progesterone, and their levels are changing constantly during your cycle. So say in the follicular phase, these hormones act differently as opposed to luteal phase and closer to your period. Major fluctuations in estrogen lead to mood disorders, and lowering of progesterone closer to your period can give you that PMS related symptom. And it is worse for some women as opposed to others. And nutritional deficiencies play a major role in defining how heightened that symptom might be for you. And when we were talking about period pain, we discussed that it might vary from cycle to cycle. If you are under stress, you make bad food choices, it affects the inflammation in your physical body, that changes your hormones. In fact, for estrogen itself, there are 38 different metabolites. So if you are under stress, if you're not eating well, if you're not eating enough fiber, you have bad estrogen that circulates in your body. If you have higher fat percentage, you will have more bad estrogen in your system. If you're constipated, same problem. So you have to address the root cause of the hormonal imbalance, understand, again, get it evaluated by a health professional, and then look for a plan of action to get rid of the PMS and the mood fluctuations around or during your period.
So what can be the food items for a short-term approach?
Banana, great food to eat during period if you're having mood fluctuations before your period. Avoid caffeine, no matter how tempted you might be. Stick to lentil rice combination, a great source of tryptophan. Add homemade dahi to your diet. Add probiotics, so dahi is a probiotic. Having idli, easy to digest food. Also focusing on good quality sleep. I think if you are not rested, then your hormones can play a havoc on your system regardless of how well supplemented or how well fed your body is.
So talking about menopause, is it just a phase or there's more to the story?
There's definitely more to the story, especially when 70% of women face mood fluctuations in perimenopause or menopause. So it's not just a phase, and I think it is so important to understand how to take care of your body when these changes are happening. Because if you know the right strategy, you will definitely ace in optimizing your energy and mood during this time. So what happens around menopause is that your body declines its estrogen, right? Declining estrogen has an impact on your mood. It has an impact on your body composition. Your body starts storing more fat. You'll also see that after menopause, women are at risk of dyslipidemia or increasing bad cholesterol in the system. So again, ensuring that you go through your dietary recall and you are eating enough of healthy fats, because whenever we talk about hormones, fat make the most important skeleton for hormonal balance. If you are low in good fats, it is difficult to build the right kind of hormonal profile. And ensuring that you don't have nutritional deficiencies, especially vitamin D and vitamin B12.
So let's break it down age-wise. So when a teenage sort of comes to you, a teenage girl comes to you, and maybe she's just started hitting her puberty, and things like that are happening, physical changes and mood swings and everything. What sort of diet do you recommend for that girl?
See, for somebody who is in their growth phase, the protein requirement are higher. So as opposed to somebody in their late 40s or early 50s, for a teenage girl who is facing hormonal imbalance, we try to eliminate food that trigger inflammation. So removal of any processed meat, dairy, removal of processed grains. So many, I wouldn't call it just gluten-free, I would call it all processed carbs, such as breads, no matter, even if they are gluten-free, if they are processed, just stay away from those cookies, biscuits. Increasing protein, because their protein requirements are higher. And I see this more often now, that young girls, because of more screen time, because of there's too many triggers that lead to hormonal imbalance, be it the beauty products, be it the cleaning products in our house, they need to up their fiber intake to almost 40 grams, because that helps in cleaning our system of bad hormones. So they are in anabolic phase of life, which means that they are still storing and building up for their future decades. So it's never a good idea. Anybody who's in their teens and is suffering from hormonal imbalance, the focus is always adding enough protein. So the protein intake should be around at least 80 grams, enough good fats from nuts and seeds, making sure they're not on restrictive diets that are so popular in youngsters these days, especially keto, especially Atkins. Keto removes carbs from your system, which means that keto removes fruits, it removes whole grains, and it removes many vegetables. So what that does is it's removing source of myoinositol, which is very important when it comes to your ovarian function. I see many girls who have irregular periods when they are put on inositol supplements, when they have foods that are rich in inositol, they regularize their periods. And I think it is so important for us to educate young girls on slowing down and prioritizing health, because the pressure never really comes down, right? As we grow older, the pressure only increases, whether it's your job or even if you have your dream job, to what's the next step. So I feel like at young age, if you don't educate girls on prioritizing health and knowing when to shut the pressure out and helping them build their coping mechanisms, helping them gain the confidence that they don't have to ace everything at once. I think there's just too much pressure for girls and boys, that it's just leading to bad hormonal health, and the environment doesn't help. These days, junk food is so convenient to get, just a click away. Our food ecosystem is totally corrupted. They don't have the right education on what foods to pick. Negative body image at that age doesn't help. And they are dealing with so much stress, peer pressure, trying to be cool at the same time, dealing with stress of studies, trying to perform in extracurriculars. I think there's just too much stress, and we have to, when it comes to hormonal health, we have to force, I tell my patients, learn to force relax yourself. And I think that habit should start at a very early age. Learn to just say no, learn to have your own relaxation, me time. It's as important as the time that you're clocking in into work.
It's like both, like switching off is as important as working.
It's more important, because if you don't switch off, then you're not as productive, you're burnt out. And being at that point is what leads to hormonal imbalance. Because food habits are still easy to build up on. But if you constantly have stressful state of mind, you will never attain optimum hormonal health.
And like, what about from the age group, let's take 25 to 40?
These are the reproductive years. So at that time, your folic acid, your DHA, the omega-3 is very important. Also understanding how your body is changing during that time, because for many people, once they hit 30, the fat gain becomes easier. The fat becomes more stubborn in nature. This is also the time that you cannot ignore workouts. You cannot not work out, because you have to build the right muscle mass. So I would prioritize good quality sleep and workout for this age group even more than the diet itself. Because if you don't do that, then the diet will not help you at its best.
So like, working out is more important post 25 than it's in your teens.
It's always good to be active, but if I have to give one advice to this age group, is that don't neglect your workout. Because if you neglect workout during this time, you are constantly losing muscle mass, and then your metabolism, the body composition that also is an anchor for good hormonal health, is going to take a hit. and then you can't build up on it after 45 as much as you can during that time. So it's important to focus on that.
And like post 40s?
Post 40s, especially for women, unfortunately, the body changes quite a lot. And post 40s, your body is severely depleted of its nutrient stores. So, doing a nutrient check, a blood work, your body composition check, your DEXA scans, these are all very important. And then pick up a plan for yourself that helps you build on strength.
So let's talk about cortisol. Like it's trending so much nowadays. Everybody is talking how to keep it in balance, how to check on it and everything. So what is the real deal with it? Like how does it affect our body? What is there that we should know about cortisol?
Cortisol is the stress hormone. So every time your cortisol levels are high, your body gets into inflammatory mode, and it has its own function in the body too, but high cortisol levels can increase your insulin secretion. So when insulin levels are high, your body stores more fat. When your body stores more fat, you gain fat percentage, that leads to bad estrogen. Now, cortisol also affects our immunity. Because of inflammation, it actually suppresses your immunity. So it suppresses your power to fight infections. You might be feeling more fatigued, more tired. And cortisol can increase muscle degeneration, which is actually it's one of the worst things, because muscle degeneration means that your body is breaking down muscle, and your liver through gluconeogenesis is changing these amino acids into carbs. So it's a high carb, high insulin, high cortisol cycle that can lead to metabolic disorder. So you will see many people who are caught up in this cycle. They have high belly fat, they have high cortisol, they have high inflammation, and for women, it can be even worse because it has its effect on the periods, on your menstrual cycle. And to break this, again, you have to go back to removing the stress, the triggers that are causing this cycle. So for many people, it could be stress that initiates it, or it could be actually bad habits that makes the stress worse, lack of sleep, not getting good quality sleep. So the triggers might seem very like, oh yeah, but this is for everybody. But it has real effects on our body. And that's why many people would come to me and be like, losing weight was never a problem with me, but now I have turned 45 and I just can't keep it off, and my belly is bloated and I'm putting on more weight on the belly. But one thing that also changes is our stress response as we age. So I think relying on the happy hormones to fight cortisol, so spending time with your loved ones, that releases oxytocin, exercising, that gives you endorphins. So the happy hormone army will help you cope with your stress hormones better. And it'll actually help you get out of, many people develop addictive cycles. They would have addictive behavior, not necessarily just to food, but like we said, like it could be alcohol, it could be smoking, it could be addictive behavior. So analyzing all of this and then building your happy hormones through food, through right lifestyle, spending time with your loved ones.
So like what are the food items that you suggest to keep these stress hormones in control?
Healthy fats. So make sure you are having good fats through soaked nuts, roasted pumpkin seeds, coconut, avocado if you want, making sure that you're not deleting food groups from your diet. So instead of going on a no carb or a low carb diet, focus on healthy carbs. So carbs coming from foods like banana or a fruit. So banana is a happy fruit. You know, you would see that eating a banana might help you elevate your mood, unless you don't like it at all. That's a different story. I know you don't.
Yes.
But having a fruit of your choice with some soaked nuts can be a great way to boost your energy and relieve stress. Foods that help you sleep better, and especially after sunset, that don't trigger hyperactivity in your system. So, foods that have tryptophan, having rice for dinner can help. Having dal for dinner, or eggs for dinner, or a lean protein for dinner, fish for dinner can help. Removing inflammatory food, so it could be cured meats, it could be too much caffeine, foods that have very refined carb, because refined carb also spike your insulin, that makes cortisol cycle even worse. And stabilizing the balance in a way that you're eating foods that sustain energy, help you fight stress. Foods that spike glucose and then dip your glucose never help you fight stress. And sadly, those are the foods that instinctively people go for when they are under stress. So it just makes you become part of that bad cycle.
It's a loop, I think. It's an
Yeah.
endless loop that
Yeah.
you get stuck in.
Yeah.
And how is sleep and hormones related? Like if you have pulled an all-nighter for an exam, like what would be the next day?
So it will mess up your cortisol levels. It will also mess up your hunger hormones, ghrelin and leptin. You'll see that when you pull an all-nighter, next day you're very hungry.
Yes.
And also, you don't have any real energy. You're feeling very tired. So it makes you lose your stamina to work out. So you've lost the opportunity to build endorphins in the system, right? Because then you don't want to work out. You're like, I haven't slept, I'm too tired. Again, so
Yes.
that's how it really hinders your hormones.
So like what would you suggest if somebody had to pull an all-nighter? What would you suggest for the next day?
Why does somebody, they have to pull an all-nighter? I don't know.
Maybe
what-
exams or something.
So you mean to say that if you take out, if there's an exam, you study for those 8 extra hours, you'll perform better in exams. I think we just need to redo the whole analysis and evaluating your overall
Study hours.
priorities again, right? Because see, when we think of hormones, you just cannot, you'll see this. People who have hormonal imbalance also suffer from anxiety.
Yes.
They suffer from feeling overworked, overwhelmed. I will never ever, I mean, if somebody who comes to me is pulling an all-nighter and is trying to fix their hormones, I would always advise against it, because it's not going to help them in long term at all. That whole habit that, okay, you can pull an all-nighter and then accomplish something, I just think that needs to be stopped. Not finding a food that helps you pull an all-nighter, you know. I remember from my college days that at that time Red Bull and Monster drinks
Yes.
were becoming increasingly popular, and that's what most kids would have to pull an all-nighter. But they are so bad for you. Very high in caffeine, very high in sugar, increases your heart rate, makes you more anxious. Definitely, it doesn't give you the stability and focus you really need to ace an exam. So if you are looking for a right advice, I would say don't pull an all-nighter.
Plan your day, your week like that.
Week, or like just plan ahead. Those 8 hours, get them somewhere else and sleep for those 8 hours.
So sleep is like very important.
When you're looking for hormonal balance, yes.
So Lovneet, how does contraceptive pills, because they are so, commonly used, how do they affect our hormones?
Contraceptive pills, especially in the initial few months, can definitely alter your hormonal health for sure, especially the progesterone only pill. And if you are taking it, then definitely you need to discuss that with your doctor. Make sure while you're on the contraceptive pills, you are also doing the routine blood work to check for any deficiencies that can increase your chances of micronutrient deficiencies. Still keep your diet high in fiber, protein and healthy fats to overcome any possible side effects.
So like, are there any food items that we can, combine with the contraceptive pills that can help ease out the effect?
I wouldn't say that the effect is that linear, that you add these food items and it'll undo the effect of contraceptive pills. But nourishing well, and like I just said, that if you make sure you're having enough protein, good fats, enough fiber, then it helps in taking out the bad hormones from your system. So at least you have a more robust, more like stronger foundation. But it's always a good idea to revisit taking contraceptive pills with your doctor.
So it's like a constant check that one needs to keep.
Yeah,
when it comes to
definitely.
contraceptive
And
pills.
especially if you're facing hormonal issues, it's not always the solution to get on a contraceptive pill, especially at young age. You must explore all alternative methods to attain hormonal balance before you get on the pill.
Okay. And what are these mood busting foods? Like I've seen a lot of these trend over all over the internet.
Mood boosting.
Yes. So are they like really helpful or it's just a fad again?
So tell me few foods that you have seen trending, and then we'll discuss and dissect these foods.
So first I saw protein bars.
Protein bars, oh my god. It can really go against you if it has whey protein in it, if it has too many fillers in it, if it has high amounts of sugar in it, because not all protein bars are clean, right? And I see so many women actually face worse side effects by getting on these protein bars. So protein is good for you. Get it through roasted chana, get it through hummus, get it through homemade paneer, get it through homemade dahi. But don't get it through processed foods, because the minute you start having more synthetic food that is filled with additives, it's not going to help your hormones or your mood.
And overnight soaked oats recipes, like you add berries to it, maple syrup. How's that?
It depends on how much sugar, maple syrup you're adding to it. So say you take Greek yogurt, you're not adding too many oats to it, just about 20 grams steel cut roasted oats. Then you are adding soaked nuts to it and some berries to it. Then it can help in boosting your mood. But then I see people adding chocolate syrup and then honey, like so much, like 30 grams of honey to it, another sweetener to it, then it's not going to help your hormones.
Like having farm based, now this is very trending, having farm based solution or pharmacy based solution, what would you suggest more?
As a nutritionist, always pharmacy, food as medicine.
Nice, nice. So if you had to create somebody who's facing hormonal issues, if you had to create a full diet for them, like from morning to night, what would it be and how would it look like?
So for hormonal health, we try to remove all triggers that increase inflammation. So limited caffeine, definitely limited coffee, limited dairy, and if dairy has to be part of the diet, then the source has to be very reliable. Limited intake of chicken, because these days the kind of chicken that we are eating is very, very inflammatory. So unless you get organic, grass-fed, not corn-fed chicken, like desi chicken, I eliminate even chicken from my patients' diet when they are looking for hormonal balance. Processed meat. So a typical diet plan, it will start with fat first. So soaked nuts, and breakfast will have organic, again, organic eggs. If you're a vegetarian, then opt for moong dal chila or sattu ki roti with lots of greens added to it. Greens, be it palak, be it broccoli, now methi will be in season soon, help you with estrogen detox. So whenever you're trying to attain hormonal balance, make sure you're having at least 1 to 2 servings of greens in your diet. And in Indian household, it's much easier. Have a lot of mint chutney with your food. Add some flax seeds to it. It's such an easy way to add healthy fats and antioxidants to your diet. Mid-meals, a combination of fresh seasonal fruits with some soaked nuts. And it can vary from the phase of your cycle you are in. So if you are in the follicular phase, which is the first 2 weeks of your cycle, then you can pair your fruit with either pumpkin seeds or soaked peanuts. If you are in the luteal phase of your cycle, which is after ovulation, the last 2 weeks of your cycle, then you can pair your fruit with sunflower seed or roasted sesame seeds. For main meals, try to opt for plant-based diets. So both lunch and dinner, try to keep it plant-based. Having say dal with jawar or dal with amaranth roti, making a nice burrito bowl or a Buddha bowl for yourself with some chickpeas or black beans and some quinoa or barnyard millet, lots of vegetables. Again, vegetables play a great role in hormonal detox because they help you build the right antioxidant profile. They help you get rid of the bad hormones. For evening snack, that's when most people are very, very hungry. Try to have something made with lentils. So chana chaat or chane ki tikki, hummus with some steamed beetroot would be a great snack. Dinner, if you don't have any thyroid disorder, then you can offer edamame tofu with some red rice, lots of vegetables. If you want to avoid tofu, soy products completely, then again a lentil and a pseudo cereal combination would be great, like dal with quinoa preparation. If you want to have different cuisines, then you can also make vegetable bakes. Like I said, options are endless, but the diet principle, I would like to keep it to mostly a plant-based anti-inflammatory diet that still gives you enough protein. Now, I do see many women leave dairy, leave gluten, leave animal products completely on their own when they're trying to stabilize their hormones. But mostly then they end up losing on enough protein. And that's why you need an expert to make that chart for you so that you are getting enough protein, you are getting enough healthy fats, so that you are on an anti-inflammatory diet that still gives you enough of nutrients. It's not malnourishing in nature.
Thank you so much, Lovneet. I think this will be so helpful to a lot of women around and of every age group. We have discussed literally every age group, all sorts of professions we have discussed. And it was so nice to discuss hormonal health, something that affects so much. It just does not affect your health, but it affects your hair, skin, moods, your overall sanity, I guess. So thank you so much. It was amazing having you.
Thank you.
See you next.